Welcome to another video, The One Good Road here. Today I thought I'd bring you a review on these bike shifters that I've had for at least several months. I've had these two shifters on my bike now. And they're an interesting pair of shifters, so I wanted to give my take on these shifters, what I think of them. I've ridden about 200 to 300k with them now. It is the winter season, so I'm not riding as much in the winter season with this bike. But there are some future bikepacking trips which are easily doable with this whole bike, actually, with this setup. And I've been really impressed with this Triben bike from Decathlon, actually. So just to give you a bit of a backstory, I bought this bike on Les Bons Coins. Les Bons Coins is like the Craigslist of France. And I got it for a really good price, and it had a flat bar on the bike. I tried getting used to it. I didn't really like the flat bar. It's like fine for cities, but if you're riding in the countryside, you want like more positions to sit on, which is why I changed this to a drop bar, as you can see here. And then I run my phone on the top as like a sort of a Garmin computer, you could kind of see like that. So these shifters, these are priced on the website AliExpress for 45 euros, which is something like what is it, like 45-ish dollars, something like that, 40 bucks, 40 pounds maybe, something like that. And I'll explain where I got them in a minute. But anyway, the main thing is I wanted to change this into a drop bar, and I was trying to think what's the cheapest way to do that. So I took an old drop bar from my old Triben bike, and I bought some bar tape, and then I hunted around, and I saw that these shifters, which are called the Sensah Ignite, that's the name of the product, they're kind of like copycats of they're very similar to Shimano, let's say. And I think a lot of the people who work for SRAM probably work with this company. There's a dozen other YouTube videos out there of people reviewing these shifters, and they're really, really good. But I did want to give my personal take on it. I wanted to give you some, because I have ridden on several different bikes. I'm like a commutist, and I live in the countryside, and I want this to last, and yet I want it to be on a budget. I don't mind if it isn't Shimano. And right off the bat, like, for the quality, I think they're amazing. Like, they really feel like Shimano, which is kind of bizarre, actually. They feel like just as the same quality as Shimano, to be honest. Maybe Shimano feels a little bit heavier in the hand. Maybe it lasts a bit longer, that kind of thing. One of the amazing things with this shifter, or these shifters, is that they can be installed onto your existing Shimano setup, which is pretty cool. And I've seen other people talk about that they've ridden with these shifters for thousands of kilometers and they've had no issues. So these shifters are getting really good reviews on AliExpress and on YouTube, and I just wanted to join the party, basically. I think it's amazing what's coming out of China these days now. And AliExpress is allowing us to access these shifters. So personally, I didn't pay any shipping fees to have these imported. I live in France, in the south of France, near Toulouse, and they were 7-day delivery. Even though it says 10-day, it came from China in at least, I think it was 7 or 8 days, which is pretty amazing. There's a paper installation manual which comes with it, which is very basic, but it does tell you how to line up the shifter and get it on properly. I made a couple videos of me installing these shifters already on YouTube Shorts. And also the little metal bracket in here. I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not the guy who designed this. I believe that it's just a stronger metal bracket that they've put in here. The old one model was plastic, that's why it kept breaking. And when you would press the shift and then brake at the same time, sometimes this would have too much force on it and it would break. So now they've fixed it in this model, and this is metal, so it's stronger than before. Amazing, I think. So definitely that's something to keep in mind, is that these are updated model. You need to make sure that when you're buying these on AliExpress, you go for the updated model. What am I running down below? I have a Shimano Shura 2-speed chain ring here. There's some other specification if you want to read here. There you go, 34 by 50. So the largest ring's 50. I've also got a Shimano derailleur, which I had some issues with getting the tension right, I will admit. I eventually settled on a position that works for me, but this tension is... I had an issue with, like, below here, if you can see that. I had an issue that I had to route a new housing cable just on the right there, because the little bracket underneath was cracked, and this is not a great system actually. Using plastic to route these cables is kind of ridiculous. And that's a standard from like Shimano as well. It's not just this company. And then on the back here, I've got a Shimano derailleur, and that you've got 9-speed on the back there. And I did leave that little plastic bit in there because I find it useful for my commuting needs. I don't want it to be stuck in the back if it does go over, and it doesn't weigh anything. So this works just fine. It did take me a while to find a setting that was comfortable for me, because this is not quite designed perfectly to fit with this Shimano setup. It does work and it's compatible, which is amazing, because now what you can do is you can mix and match, which is pretty awesome. And then I routed the cables through here. I had to do the routing myself because this bike was designed for flat bars on the top. So that I had to spend a bit of time figuring out that with the routing. I've got some other shots of me riding with it actually, because I did some other videos recently. And my overall opinion right now is that even though I've only done maybe 200 to 300k with them, I'm really impressed with them so far. And I would even be as confident to say that I would do a bike packing trip with these, like in the mountains or to the coast or something like that, and it would be fine for a few days. It will be really good for my needs. Yeah, so anything else I can mention? There are a couple strange things that I could probably mention. When it comes to the shifter here, for the right one, which is going to control your back derailleur back there, what happens is that when you're shifting, there's a kind of strange effect where when you get to the last cog, it kind of blocks and then clicks back over. And also, there's a strange thing when you want to change to go down a gear to have a lighter gear, you have to click it in. I'm going to demonstrate, but the bike's not moving. So it'll make a second click if you heard that. Sorry, I got my cat in the background here. Hey, buddy. She's got Ginger there. So you press it twice to go in, and it'll go into the derailleur, right? And you press it once, and it'll go back down outwards. I have had a couple instances where when you're pressing to go to the lower rings, and you're having to double press like you do on a SRAM, you have to press this twice to go in. I have had a couple misshifts, so you have to get used to the fact that it's not going to be 100% perfect with the shifting. Like when you're downshifting, when you're getting to a lower gear and it feels easier to cycle. So that's something to get used to. Like I said, with shifting, when you're going down, it feels sometimes that, it doesn't quite grab the gear that you might want because you're pressing it twice, so you have to get used to that feeling. If you go for the higher model, like on the Empire, I think it's called Empire, something like that, Team Sport, you might get a better quality shifter possibly. Also the weight of these two shifters combined, I think, is 460 grams. If I'll make sure to put something on the screen saying how much that actually weighs. I'll double check that later. But I'm pretty sure that they're around 460 grams. So they're actually lighter than Shimano 105s, which is quite surprising. And they don't feel like Claris shifters. Like Claris, you'd expect them to find that they don't. I've actually got a Claris. So just for a comparison here, I've actually got a Claris here on my neighbor's bike. And you can kind of see that they're very, very similar. This one seems to be a gloss metal in the inside, and the hood is almost the same shape. You clamp it on in the same way. I haven't had any issues clamping it. I was a bit nervous about clamping it before because you have to clamp these. There's like a system inside there where it clamps onto the handlebar. You can see that on other videos. And also this system, I'm trying to... Yeah, I can't quite demonstrate that. Hang on. If I lean it like that. There we go. So you've got this one going in and this one going in, and they're two separate levers, which is different on the other one. You're pressing just one giant lever and you've got two different cogs inside. So that's roughly how that works. So I mean, for the money, I'm really impressed with what you get with these two shifters. And I'm really keen to actually, if at any point I need to replace, the crankset or the rear derailleur or the front derailleur, I would definitely go to AliExpress and probably buy from the Sensah company, because they're offering the same quality for one like 3/4 of the price, a quarter of the price. You can get the same level of quality, which is pretty amazing, really. Because these are retailing for €45, right, or $45 or something like that. And if you're buying these shifters in the Shimano category from their catalog, this will be the 105, and they cost around €120. So they're not only 50% cheaper, they're close to 60, sometimes 70% cheaper, which is pretty amazing considering the price. They also sell these hoods on AliExpress as well. They're really cheap to replace. They feel pretty comfy. I've had no issues. I will say, when you're going down a bumpy road and you don't have your hands on the end of this bar, there's like a little screw that's loose inside here that kind of rattles a bit, and it's just it's a screw that's not going anywhere, but it's a screw inside here that I've seen on another video where somebody explained. I can't remember the name of the channel. I think it's Trace Velo or something like that. He makes good content, and basically he put some Loctite gel of some kind inside here, and then that just stops that screw from rattling around. And it's other than that, I don't really have an issue with it. It doesn't bug me that much, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's not falling apart or anything like that. So far, from what I've noticed, I feel like they're pretty good shifters. Like I said, it came on AliExpress within 7 days, not 10 days, which is pretty amazing. Maybe in other countries that could be quite different. There is a returns policy. One tip I got from a guy is that you can don't confirm the delivery immediately when you get it, because then you'll lose your rights as the consumer for buying the product and returning it. So give it a few days, test them, because the time that you get to test them, you only get 15 days, I think, before you can return it. It's not like Amazon where you get 30 days. So I haven't tried the returns policy on AliExpress, I will say. But as long as you don't click confirm immediately on confirm delivery, then you give yourself time to see if these shifters are going to work for you. I don't think there's much else to say about them other than they're pretty good quality. I've had no issues with them, and I just wanted to give a long form piece of content explaining to somebody who might want a bit more in-depth detail about how I felt with them. Like I said, I had a couple issues with trying to set up the cable tension on both of these, but eventually I settled on a setting that works for me. I spent like half the day or a day on it, which is kind of crazy. But I don't really do this kind of like bike mechanic stuff as much as I used to. Just for this bike in particular. So it works really well with this bike. I do recommend that. And they're really lightweight, they're really budget conscious, and actually quite high quality. I'm buying a lot of different things from AliExpress and just trying them out. Like, I've just ordered some guitar strings, and I'm going to see if they're going to be any good or not. it's definitely worth having a look at if you haven't seen that already. Have a look at AliExpress. Take a look at these shifters. I'm not sponsored. These were not sponsored. I bought these with my own money, actually from YouTube money. Which is thanks for watching these videos, because if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to get these shifters. So thanks for that. And also, this quad lock looks pretty amazing here, doesn't it? I love the way that just integrates onto the bike like that. It's just really neat. Really neat and tidy. So leave a like. Let me know what you think of this video. If you have any questions about how the braking is, how the longevity is in the future, you can write me a comment, and I do respond to as many comments as I can to try and help people get informed on getting like decent quality stuff for a good price. So leave a comment below if you have any questions about the shifters. If I didn't mention anything in this video, if I forgot to mention something in the video, I can mention it in the comments. And I do recommend them. I'm really quite surprised, and we'll see in the future how they go, and if I need to make an update to say what happens in like 1,000 kilometers from now. And check out the other videos if you're interested. I'm more focusing onto my music at the moment, and classical guitar. But if you want, there's a whole catalog of old content, and I've probably already lost you as a viewer right now, because you're like, oh, now I'm going into the details. But yeah, there's old stuff in my archives. Have a look at my America trip or stuff like that, and see if that interests you. If you're planning a trip in Australia or whatever, leave a comment. And that's it. Thanks for watching The One Good Road, and I'll see you guys in another video. That is my little review and my take on the Sensah Ignite 2x9 speed shifters. Voila.